Here is section 2.2. So we're going to now see why, when we're solving equations, that they work. So if we say that A equals B, we know that A times C equals B times C. A divided by C equals B divided by C. A plus C equals B plus C. A minus C equals B minus C. What that's saying is that if we multiply both sides of the equal sign by the same number, we're still going to have the equal. If we divide both sides of the equal sign by the same number, both sides will remain equal. If we add the same thing to both sides of the equal sign, both sides will remain equal. And if we subtract both the same thing from both sides of the equal sign, both sides will remain equal. So let's say that we have 3 equals 3. If we add 1 to both sides, we're going to get 4 equals 4. We're going to just keep doing that. That's the basics of how algebra works. So let's say that we have 24x equals 96. And what we always want to do is whatever's opposite of what function we're doing to x. So on this one, we're multiplying, so we're going to divide both sides by 24, and x equals 4. If we want to check our answer, we just stick this 4 in for x. We're going to get 24 times 4 equals 96. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 96. And that does equal 96, so we did this one right. Next, let's say that we have negative 16x equals 48. This one throws some people because we have the negative sign in front of the 16. We do have to divide both sides by the negative 16. And when we do this, negative 16 divided by negative 16 is 1. We have a positive divided by negative, so our answer is going to be negative. And 48 divided by 16 is 3. Here is a really good one to check. So let's put our negative 3 into negative 16. So we have a negative 16 times a negative 3. Negative times negative is positive, and 3 times 16 is 48. This is where it's really good to check yourself, just to see if you have the sign of your answer correct. Next, let's say we have x divided by 4 equals 12. So here I did say x divided by 4 instead of x over 4, which you can say either way. But what we're going to do now is multiply, because we're dividing, both sides by 4. And when I do that, we have a 4 divided by 4 is 1. So we're just left with x equals 12 times 4 is 48. Okay, next what I'm going to have is one that has a fraction in it, but it's 2 over 3x equals 6. When we have a fraction times a variable, all we have to do is multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction. So the reciprocal of 2 over 3 is 3 over 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3 over 2. When I did that, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that all cancels. We're left with x equals 6 times 3 is 18. Divided by 2 is 9. If we want to put this back into the original, we'll have 2 over 3 times 9. 2 times 9 is 18. Divided by 3 is 6, which is what we started with. That means we got it correct. Next, let's say we have negative 4 over 5x equals 8 over 15. So we're going to do this the same way, but notice that we have a negative 4 over 5. So we have to multiply both sides by negative 5 over 4, which is the reciprocal. So negative 5 over 4. So now we have negative 5. We have negative times negative is positive. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So we're just left with positive x equals. We have a negative times a positive, so our answer is going to be negative. But we can also simplify here. The 8 and the 4 are both divisible by 4, and the 5 and the 15 are both divisible by 5. So let's start with the 8. 8 divided by 4 becomes 2. 4 divided by 4 becomes 1. 5 divided by 5 becomes 1. And 15 divided by 5 becomes 3. So now what we have is 2 over 3 times 1 over 1. Our answer is still going to be negative, but it's going to be 2 over 3. If we want to check ourselves with that, we have negative 4 over 5 times negative 2 over 3. Negative times negative is positive. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 3 is 15. So we got this one correct as well. Alright, so next, let's say that we have negative 4 times, in parentheses, x minus 2, close the parentheses, minus 8 equals 24. So if you remember from the last section, the first thing we have to do is distribute, but here we have to distribute a negative 4. So negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times negative 2 becomes plus 8. We have a minus 8 equals 24. So now we combine like terms. We have an 8 minus 8, which is 0. So we're left with negative 4x equals 24. We have to divide both sides by a negative 4. The negative 4's cancel, so we're left with x equals a positive divided by negative is negative. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So our answer here is x equals negative 6. Okay, next, let's say that we have a word problem of sorts that says 3/4 of x is 15. Okay, so 3/4, we just write 3 over 4. Of always means times, and then we have x. Is means equals, and then equals 15. So now we're just back to what we just had before. So we're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 3 over 4, which is 4 over 3. 4 over 3 times 3 over 4 is 1. So x equals, we can say 15 divided by 3 is 5, times 4 is 20. Next, we have one that has some decimals. So let's say we have 1.6x plus 0.7 minus 0.4 equals 19.08. Actually, let's make this a little bit more. Put this part in parentheses and multiply that all by 0.4. Okay, so now what we have is a decimal multiplied by a decimal. For this one, I'm just going to distribute the 0.4 because of where the x is in the parentheses. So 0.4 times 1.6 is 0.64x plus 0.4 times 0.7 is 0.28, and we have a minus 0.4 equals 19.08. Now at this point, we could either leave them as decimals or we could eliminate the decimals. For this one, I'm just going to leave them as decimals. So the next thing we need to do is combine like terms. So we have the 0.64x and then 0.28 minus 0.7 0.4, which will be minus 0.12, equals 19.08. I'm going to add the 0.12 to both sides. 0.64x equals 19.20. Divide both sides by 0.64, and we're going to get x equals 30. In a future section, I'm going to show how to get rid of the decimals so you don't have them. This one, because of where the x is, and because we have decimals inside the parentheses, we might as well just leave them there for now. And again, use your calculators on these. You don't need to try to work them all by hand. Alright, so the next one that we have is 4 over 5x minus 5 equals 4. Now here's one where we do have just the fraction. So I'm going to get rid of the fractions first here. It doesn't matter as much on this one because you can do it multiple ways. But what I'm going to do is multiply everything by this denominator, which is 5. And so the 5 divided by 5 turns to 1. And so we're left with 4x minus 5 times 5 is 25 equals 4 times 5 is 20. Now I need to add the 25 to both sides. And we're left with 4x equals 45. Divide both sides by 4. And we get x equals 45 over 4. We can't do anything with that. This one is just going to be a fraction. Okay, so next question. We'll have something like 8 minus 8, open parentheses, x plus 6, close parentheses, plus 7x equals 7 minus 7. Okay, so the first thing we do is distribute on this side. So we're going to have 8 minus, distribute this negative 8 here. So negative 8 times x is negative 8x. And we have minus 48 plus 7x equals 7 minus 7. Now I'm going to combine like terms on both sides. We have an 8 minus a 48, which is negative 40. Negative 8x plus 7x is minus x equals 7 minus 7 is 0. So now what I'm going to do is I want my x to be positive, so I'm going to add it to both sides. So plus x to both sides. We're left here with negative 40 minus x plus x is 0 equals 0 plus x is x. So x equals negative 40. This is one that shows that you don't always have to have the x term to be first. You can have it second, and you can move it over and not the numbers. Next, let's say that we have 5 over 2x equals negative 7 over 6. So now we don't need to get rid of the decimal or the fraction, because all we have is just 5 over 2x equals another fraction. So we're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is 2 over 5. And we're left with x equals, the 2 and the 6 can cancel. This will become a 1. This will become a 3. So we have a negative 7 times 1 is negative 7 over a 3 times 15, which is 3 times 5, which is 15. So x equals negative 7 over 15. Next, let's say that we have 2 plus 5 equals 3 plus 4, open parentheses, x plus 9. First thing is distribute. So we have a 2 plus 5 equals 3 plus 4x plus 36. Combine like terms on each side. 2 plus 5 is 7 equals. 3 plus 36 is 39 plus 4x. Now we need to subtract the 39 from both sides to get x's all by themselves. So 4x equals, we're going to have a negative 39 minus 7 is 32. Divide both sides by a 4, and x equals 32 divided by 4 is going to be a negative 8. We have a negative 32 divided by 4. Okay, next is some word problems. So quotient of 3 more than a number and 6 is 9. Okay, so the and here, when you have the quotient, is where the dividing is. So I'm just going to put the dividing here. And it says here the quotient of 3 more than a number. So that a number is x. 3 more means plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and put that in parentheses. And then the word and, which is the divide, 6. So 6 is the denominator. Is means equals, and that's 9. So now, the reason I put the parentheses here is so that we know what order to do everything. The first thing I'm going to do is multiply both sides by 6 to get rid of the fraction. So I'm left with x plus 3 equals, because 6 divided by 6 is 1, 9 times 6 is 54. Subtract the 3 from both sides. X equals 54 minus 3 is 51. So that's how you're going to do this one. Pay attention to the way this one is written so that you'll do it well on the homework and quiz. Okay, and then let's say we have product of 4 more than a number and 9 is 15. Okay, so a product means we're multiplying, and it says, and again, the word and is where we're going to do the multiplication. So the first term, or the first part of it, the factor, is 4 more than a number. So x plus 4, and that's going to be times, because the and times 9 equals 15. So the first thing we do is distribute the 9. So we'll have 9x plus 36 equals 15. Subtract the 36 from both sides. And we're going to have 9x equals negative 21. Divide both sides by 9. We'll have x equals negative 21 over 9. But we can simplify that by dividing both of them by 3. So x is going to equal negative 7 over 3. And that is it for 2.2. Pay close attention to this one as well. The and is where the multiplication is. And everything before that is going to be in parentheses times whatever is after the word and.